A very good morning, everyone. Welcome to StudyIQ English. Sorry for the delay. Welcome to the Hindu newspaper class with me. I am Saumya, and like each day, you and I shall be looking at UPSC relevant articles from the Hindu newspaper, New Delhi edition for today, that is 23rd January 2026. Now, at the same time, a lot of students have been asking about the QR code, the fact that all of us, we're discussing about the Telegram channel, we were discussing about the PDF. So here I have put the QR code for the same, and those who are still struggling to find it can find it by scanning the code. And now before I show you the important articles for the day, here's a very, very big announcement. So on Study IQ, we are announcing up to 77% sale, and that's a massive sale. 77% as we celebrate this year Republic Day. Okay, so happy Republic Day in advance, and 77% off on all our programs 26, 27, 28. Yes, I will show you all the sale templates by the end of the video. Remember to use my code SPLIVE, and then you can also get maximum discount on top of the already big discount that I just announced. A great choice for those who are writing prelims this year, great for those who are starting for 2027, and a very good opportunity for those who will now study for 2028 exam too. Okay, all right. Okay, fine. You can see that once I'm done. Okay, Ramu? Once you get the PDF, you can scan the code from here. All right. So very good morning, and here are about 7 articles for the day. 7 articles taken from the Hindu. We will start with the editorial page articles, and the first 3 articles are page number 10. The first 3 articles are all editorial articles. All are editorial articles, okay? So let us start with these, and before I do, as a protocol, let me quickly welcome my dear students online. And then we start with the very first one, editorial article, A Dangerous March Towards Himalayan Ecocide. So very interesting. Today we are looking at an article from GS Paper 3, Environment, Ecology, Natural Disaster, Risk Mitigation, Biodiversity. That's GS Paper 3. We shall start with that, okay? Ecology. And before I do that, here's a very good morning to Priyanshu, as well as Sumed, Sitaram, Terukula, Hari, Bulbul, Iba, Rishi, Kaizan, Madhav, and Ramu, Jeevit, Santosh, Zahir, Saurav, Satya, Arul, Vikash, okay, Hika, and Shubham, and who else? Kazu. So very good morning. Yeah, okay, you can scan the code because I'll be sharing the PDF with you anyway, and later also you can scan the code, or what I can do is I'll move aside and you can scan the code. Okay, let me show you the code once again. Okay, I will move away a bit and you can see the code here. Right here it is for those who want to download the code. Okay, I can show it again. Yes, the location is a little absurd, Priyanshu. All right. Now let us start with the first article for the day. Let's prioritize the articles and then come back to the QR code. We can see that later also. So the first article for the day, as I mentioned, is GS Paper 3. It is Ecology, Environment, Biodiversity, Conservation. Okay. And we are looking at the Himalayan ecosystem. We all know that recently, if you look at 2025, a report was created by IUCN, International Union for Conservation of Nature. Yesterday we spoke about this briefly. Where is it headquartered? Headquartered at Gland in Switzerland. The same organization that releases its red data list on various vulnerable, endangered, and unsafe, close to extinction species. Now, the same organization, IUCN, had given us a very shocking report. While talking about Indian subcontinent, IUCN said that in India, it is places like the Trans-Himalaya, it is Western Ghats, it is the Sundarban mangrove in West Bengal, the largest wetland in India also. All these are under massive risk of environmental degradation. When the environment is degraded too much, when it experiences a complete devastation, we can call it ecocide. And therefore, the title of this article is also Ecocide. That was a grim reminder about how we need to protect sensitive, very, very vulnerable ecosystems in India. Today, this article is doing exactly the same thing. So let's look at the data. Let's see all the points of this article and then understand How can we, in fact, why should we try to invest more manpower, more money, create more awareness about protecting an ecosystem that is as vulnerable as the Himalaya itself? Very good, Vikash, that's what I'm talking about. But the headquarters of IUCN, are they in Bern? That's the capital of Switzerland, or are they in Gland, a place called Gland? Very good. Absolutely, Santosh. Good morning, Satya and Prasad. Then let's start and see what this article has to say. The article is saying that if you look at the scale of disaster, the extent of disaster, you realize that nearly 331 days of extreme climate events happened in the Trans Himalayan and Himalayan region. Yes, the capital is Bern, but where are the headquarters? Confirm, Bern or Gland? Check it once again and confirm me. Okay, so in 2025, nearly 331 days of extreme climate events happened. And what happened as a result of that? They created 4,000 and more death among people. People died in these disasters like earthquakes, landslide, flash flooding, cloud burst, land subsidence, as we saw in a place called Joshi Mutt near Uttarkashi in Uttarakhand. All these events have led to more than 4,000 people dying actually. Now, these episodes are very common in Himalayan states like Himachal Pradesh and Uttarakhand. 2 days before, I spoke about Himachal and Uttarakhand. And why did I speak about these two states? When I was talking about India China line of actual control. That is when I had discussed that between India China, it is the middle part of the boundary that oversees states of Uttarakhand and Himachal. Today we are looking at both these Himalayan states because both are very sensitive to climate disaster. People are dying here very, very frequently every year. There is a massive climate related event that these states are facing, and which are the areas which have seen too many extreme climate events. These are places like Dharali. These are places like Harsil. These are places like Uttarkashi, Chamoli, Kullu, Mandi, Kishtwar, overlapping the areas of Kashmir, of course, Himachal, and then Uttarakhand. What is happening here? If you look at cloudburst, landslide, snowstorms, avalanches, and flash floods are so common. They are not even unique, they are expected every year. This has resulted in a very big question today. In fact, I would say it is the classical ethical debate between infrastructure growth on one side and protecting ecology on the other. Yes. So when you study your GS paper 4, you will face case studies there. You will have to answer 20 marks case study. And when you start answering 20 marks case study, you will realize majority of the case studies are based on the classical, the well-known ethical debate about whether should we push for infrastructure, growth, development, or should we start pushing for protecting our environment as well. Can we create a sustainable infrastructural or economic growth? That's a very big question, even in the ethics paper. Today, this article is raising the same question. It says because states like Uttarakhand, because states like Himachal, Kashmir, recently we saw too much flash flooding in places like even Punjab, cloudburst in Chennai, in Gurugram, the NCR region also, we saw urban flooding at a very high scale. So now it is becoming concerning to all of us. And this article is asking if that is the situation, if that is the situation, then is it valid that the government is continuously, then the government is continuously trying to create infrastructure like highway, expressway, yes, highway, expressway. For example, today in Uttarakhand, if you see, the government is trying to create the Char Dham road. I know it is important to invest in religious tourism. It's very important. But at the same time, can we neglect the fact that places like Uttarakhand, states like these are Himalayan states, and Himalayas are the young fold mountains. They are still evolving, they are still developing, especially the Shivalik range of Himalaya. The Shivalik range of Himalaya is very susceptible to erosion and landslide. Today, if we create projects like highways, expressways, flyovers, by putting too many drillings, too many holes in various kinds of areas in Uttarakhand and Himachal, can we then be sure that tomorrow no kind of landslide or tragedy will happen? We can never guarantee that. In fact, if you remember, when a place called Joshimath in Uttarakhand had experienced land subsidence, when the entire land of the district started crumbling down, what happened? While drilling, by mistake, the development authorities poked an underground aquifer. Now, what happens when underground aquifers are broken, when they are leaking? Naturally, what happens? Tomorrow, you will face water scarcity. At the same time, your roots will become weak. The land will keep breaking apart. And what happens as a result? Again, the same thing, climate induced refugee crisis. Internally displaced people, that's becoming very, very common in India, so common in India. And most of these states are very vulnerable. Absolutely. Absolutely, AB. Well said. Ramu, very well said. We are sacrificing ecology. It's a sacrilege. It is a sacrilege. Ecocide. And that's why this article is saying, despite all these evidence, despite all these reports of 4,000 people dying in 2025, the government is still pushing for Char Dham road widening. We are trying to cut the slopes of the hills and creating wider roads to create wider roads. We are trying to remove forests like Devdar, a very important ecotone endemic species of this area. We are trying to uproot these trees. Something similar to what the British government had done to create more timber industries, to create more connectivity, railways. The British government completely destroyed the mountainous ecology in India. It had done it throughout. Today, the Indian government is quite doing the same thing. When we are saying 7,000 Devdar, endemic species, 7,000 Devdar trees are being cut and 43 hectare of forest land is now being replaced. It's being diverted to non-forest use. Did you see the three things here? Did you see the three things here? Absolutely, it can, Priyanshu, and it's a very, very worrisome situation, by the way. It's dangerous for the local people. So you see what is happening here. Three, four things that we have seen so far. One, Himalayan states, Uttarakhand, Himachal Pradesh are experiencing annual landslides, flash flooding, cloud burst, and land erosion. 4,000 people died in 2025 itself, and still the government is trying to push for Char Dham Expressway, Char Dham Highway to promote ecotourism. For that, the government has already diverted 43 hectares of forest land into non forest use. Plus, there is another plan of widening the roads here. The Char Dham road will now further be widened, and now it will be widened up to DLPS 12-meter wide road. And what do you mean by that? Now, DLPS is a standard road design that is used by the government. Okay, so that is what the government is now doing. This is known as double lane with paved shoulder, and as you are expanding the road, you are cutting the forest and the hill slopes. Is that safe? The question this article is asking is that safe? Now let us look at the problems associated with these things. A lot of you might be arguing that what's wrong in creating a road? What's wrong in creating an expressway or the Char Dham route? It will give us money as a state government. It will promote people to easily access these religious sites. Your point is valid. But there is something called sustainability, the question that Hari is asking, and many more people are asking here. There is something called sustainability. What is sustainable? Using your current resources in such a way that you preserve them for future use as well. Otherwise, the generations of tomorrow may never have any resource left to use. In fact, that's the whole fundamental principle behind United Nations and the Sustainable Development Goals. Why? Because all these goals were created in 2015 when the United Nations realized that the millennial development goals are a failure. So let's substitute them by sustainable development goals. Yes? So today this article is asking a question: how sustainable is creating an expressway or a roadway called Char Dham route by expanding the road width? Is it sustainable in places like Uttarakhand and Himachal? Let's understand the risk now. Now, there is something called high risk geology factor. Areas that are lying to the north of main central thrust, MCT, are very unsafe. And therefore, any infrastructure creation Any infrastructure expansion here is strongly encouraged. These are the areas where you have delicate glaciers. All these glaciers are melting now very fast. They are receding, they are going backwards. For example, the Gangotri Glacier. It is also receding very fast. There is always a risk of flooding and, some kind of a sudden inundation. And still we are going on and creating infrastructure here. Now, a very good question can be, what do you mean by MCT? We are saying areas that are lying to the north of MCT are dangerous. You should not create infrastructure here. But Bacha, what is MCT? So MCT is main central thrust. It is a major geological fault. Okay, it is known as a major geological fault. It is an area in the Himalaya where old high grade metamorphic rocks of the greater Himalaya have been pushed southwards, and other younger rocks of the lesser Himalaya are now filling up that region. So it's an area where a kind of pushing back is taking place. Okay, so this is an area where the older metamorphic rocks of greater Himalayas are going southwards, and the younger rocks of lesser Himalayas are now filling up the place. Why was it created in the first place? It was created by an accident, a collision between the Indian plate and the Eurasian plate, but this collision is still going on. Both the plates are even now colliding with each other. It's an ongoing process. Now, location is very, very geographically strategic. For example, the MCT is located east west across Himalayan entire span, entire arc of Himalaya. And where is it located? It is located through places like Jammu, Kashmir, Himachal, Uttarakhand, Nepal, and Bhutan. All these are lying within the MCT zone, an area where the Eurasian and the Indian plates are pushing against each other constantly, and therefore it's a very dangerous area. It is also an important area because it separates the greater Himalaya from the lesser Himalaya. At the same time, it is an area where you have dense forest. It is an area where you have deformation taking place. It's an area where rocks are very unstable and therefore it's prone to earthquake. If they keep pushing each other, we will have an earthquake and it will keep happening. Tremors will keep going on. And in this location, you are now creating the Char Dham route. By further drilling, by further digging, and by further uprooting the trees, very dangerous. The areas that lie north of this collision plate, MCT, are extremely fragile. It is expected they will have a natural calamity. And still we are pushing for Char Dham route. Is that not dangerous? At the same time, by removing hectares of, Devdar forest, what are we trying to do? What is Devdar? Have you heard about the name Devdar? People who have visited the hills, people who have seen the hilly landscape, or who have read NCRTs could be relating to that. What is Devdar? Devdar or Deodar, cedar, is an example of temperate coniferous forest species. Temperate coniferous. What's the vegetation type? Now, if I ask you which is the most predominant vegetation in India, you might say deciduous forest, tropical deciduous forest. Yes, then what is Devdar an example of? Devdar tree is found in mountains and hills, typically in the Himalayan region. It is associated with montane, Himalayan temperate coniferous forest. Very good. It is usually found at an altitude of about 1500 to 3200 meter height. Okay, so between 1500 and 3200 meters elevation, you will find the Devdar Hill, a classic example of temperate coniferous forest. It has evergreen, thin, spike-like, needle-like leaves because they have adapted very well to the cold climate and snowfall. But what role does it play? What's the ecological significance of this Devdar tree? The significance is that it stabilizes the slopes. It holds on to the soil of the slope. It also reduces the risk of landslide and avalanche, that is snowstorm. It protects the Ganga water quality in the Bhagirathi eco-sensitive zone. It also has antimicrobial properties. It maintains a healthy river ecology. It maintains stability in cold microclimates. It stabilizes temperature, okay, because it also releases oxygen in the air. Now, if you cut these trees, you are creating an irreversible ecological damage. Now, in India, what usually happens? Very good, Satya. Very good, Santosh. Very good, Terukula. You all understand the usage of this tree. Very good. So, all these are commercial usages of the tree. Very good. At the same time, it has an ecological significance too. It maintains the Himalayan microclimate by stabilizing the purity of river water, also by maintaining oxygen saturation in the atmosphere. All that is being done. But now the problem is, if Devdar is such an important tree, then how can the government justify cutting off Devdar by saying that it's okay, we will create Campa for that? You all have studied Campa 2016. Where did we study Campa 2016, bache? We studied this in the case of Greater Nicobar project in the Nicobar Island. When we are talking about the Greater Nicobar Transshipment Project, remember what the government said? I will cut 13,000 hectare of trees, but at the same time, I will go and plant compensation. I will do compensatory plantation of these trees. Where? In Haryana. That's when everybody was shocked. How can you match or compare between ecosystem of the Great Nicobar and the ecosystem of Haryana? How can you do that? The same species of trees will never grow back in Haryana. Sorry, it's not possible. Very good. Very, very well said. Very good, Vikash. Relates to that as well. And that's not possible. So today, the same argument holds valid. If the government is saying, let me remove the Devdar trees from here, and then I can plan a translocation of these trees somewhere else. What is translocation? Now you uproot a tree, a full grown tree. You find a new place and then you plant that tree here. Is that possible? Do you think Devdar tree, which has adapted to the cold climate of Himalayan terrain, a tree that is known as the ecotone species, a tree that is known as reason behind holding stability of the Himalayan slopes, will it actually be able to survive in another ecosystem? Is that logically possible? Sorry, it's not. So government's argument of translocating these trees is very unscientific. Uprooting century old trees and now putting them in a specific site as per your convenience will probably solve a recreation purpose. It can make you happy. It can make you satisfied in a very fake way. It's like, you are patting your own guilt. But in reality, sorry, that's not possible. The tree will die eventually. Translocation cannot be done. Now, you people might have seen, all my students might have seen. Nowadays, it's very common when the government is creating highways, the government is creating a big project. So all the palm trees are translocated. They are probably imported or they are, achieved from some other place. They are uprooted and the whole big tree is put at another place. That's translocation. It's a very unlikely thing. Trees don't survive translocation, especially trees like Devdar. They will definitely not do that. Now, therefore, people are saying the design of this entire project is totally flawed. Sorry. Yes. Okay. So, Anna and Risha, I have put the QR code on the front page. Okay, and as we finish the lecture, I'll once again go to the front page. You can see the QR code. I'll move aside, scan that, and you will have the access to channel. Okay, now let's focus, please. Coming back to this argument, therefore, people are saying it's a flawed project. Sorry, it has a bad design. Now, why does it have a bad design? It has a bad design because no proper environmental impact assessment has been done. This will create deforestation in a sensitive place like Himalaya. You are creating excessive vertical hill cutting, muck or soil dumping into water sources. When you uproot trees from here, you dig holes in this area. Where will you throw all the debris? You will throw it in the nearby water bodies, in the wetlands. What is the result? 800 plus active landslide zones along 700 kilometer, which are known as all-weather road, will completely fail. It will completely fail. Nothing of that sort is going to be successful. And tomorrow, if you say that, okay, I have made a mistake, now let me do a belated fixture, that won't help either. You can't work with band-aid solutions, because if you try to make up for these lost trees by translocation, by CAMPA, Compensatory Afforestation Program of India 2016, or by creating retrofitting bolts, nuts, by creating various artificial plantations, it's not going to help, because Himalaya is a very sensitive region. Plus, you are doing all this in an area of MCT. It's not going to help. Now, this also contradicts with government's own policy, by the way. There's a contradiction in policy. Why? Because in India, we have a very famous project called as NMSCE. This is a project called National Mission for Sustaining the Himalayan Ecosystem. It was launched back in 2010. Okay, so under this mission, which comes under one of the 8 missions created by National Action Plan on Climate Change, implemented by Ministry of Science and Technology. The idea is to measure, monitor, protect Himalayan ecosystem. But today, by creating these Char Dham routes, by doing vertical cutting, by doing soil dumping and mud dumping in the wetlands, by removing devdar trees, we are going against, completely against, completely against the logic behind creating NMSGE. We are defeating that purpose completely. At the same time, climate risk. Climate change is happening every day. Every day it's happening. High altitudes are now warming. They are becoming hotter by 50%. You have seen forest fires already. If you compare with the global temperature of 1950, 50% more prone our high altitude regions in Himalayas have become to heat waves and high summer temperature. That is leading to melting of glacier, melting of snow and ice belts, ice sheets, and what is happening? Flash floods. Repeated flash floods are happening. Water scarcity is very common now. The average level of water that flows in the Himalayan rivers is also drying up, it is decreasing. And then what is happening? This will further trigger more challenges in terms of hydropower, irrigation, drinking water. All in all, not a very solid plan. At the same time, this is also a project that is being questioned by NGT, National Green Tribunal in India. So at this point, I would want to know, what is National Green Tribunal? What do you mean by NGT, bacha? The National Green Tribunal is a specialized judicial body in India. Let's not forget, it is a specialized judicial body in India. It was created by the National Green Tribunals Act 2010. Okay, that is NGT. And what's the role? It makes sure that we are doing effective and proper solution to environmental disputes. Since 2011, NGT has worked relentlessly. It is serving as our first principal major environment court, environment judiciary system. Okay, now it also focuses on the principles of sustainable development. Very good, Vikash. 2010, effective since 2011. So now, all in all, how can we summarize this article? What we can say is that deforestation cannot be justified in the Himalayan region. It cannot be. So I agree that since history, even if you look at the 5th and the 6th century BC of India, the age of Mahajanpad, the second urbanization phase in India after Harappan culture, forests were cut by the use of iron weapons, and that's what led to the growth of big Mahajanpads. That's what eventually led to the growth of urbanization in India. So we can't deny that forests need to be cut for development. That's a standard model people have used. Human civilization has been based on that. But if you choose to do it in a place like Himalaya, that has been called out by IUCN also, in a place that will not cope with climate change, risk of landslide, and a place that is strategically sitting in the north of MGT, MCT, what we just spoke about, a place that is very dangerous. It is based on an area, it is north of an area where two plates, Indian and Eurasian, are colliding with each other, and the process is ongoing. Then that will create more fractures, and definitely we are inviting problems, plus translocation of montane vegetation, Himalayan vegetation, like Devdar, is not a sustainable thing. You cannot revive these trees back in any other place. So therefore, without Himalaya, there is no Indian civilization. India has been cradled because of Himalaya, whether it's climate protection, whether it's protection against enemies, whether it's the fertility of North India, the soil fertility, all of that we owe to Himalaya. Our southwest monsoon, everything is owing to the Himalaya. So disaster resilience doesn't only mean disaster management, it also means preventing disasters from happening. So, unregulated tourism, vertical cutting, slope cutting, deforestation, poor waste management, it will backfire in the Himalayas. And if we are losing 4,000 lives in 2025, then you can imagine the scale of disaster. So, that's what this article says. Very good. The Ganga Yamuna Doab, very good. Very good. Forest for everyone, Ranjit. Around 600 BC, Vikash and Kundan. Very valid point. Absolutely. Probably, yes. The genetically modification thing, yes. The genes of the tree are going to be planted elsewhere instead of uprooting them, correct? Valid point. Very beautifully made point. Now, quickly the question. Consider the following statements regarding Himalayan infrastructure development and Devdar forest. 1. Devdar forests play a crucial role, a critical role in slope stabilization, preventing landslides and avalanches, and maintenance of water quality in upper reaches of the Ganga. Second, excessive road widening, cutting of the slope side by side. As we said, we are maintaining a basic standard width of these roads, and vertical cutting in fragile. Fragile means delicate, susceptible. Himalayan zone violates basic geological principles such as natural angle of response and have increased landslide cases. 3. Climate change acts as a risk multiplier in Himalaya by accelerating glacier melt, intensifying extreme rainfall, and increasing the frequency of flash floods. Which of these statements are valid? It's a very easy question and still very well answered, despite that, the fact that second statement is slightly here and there. So, Abhilash, Rishi Kundan, Aktopam, Satya, Pushpita, Santosh, Kazu. Of course, Vikash, Terukula, Ramu, Sumed, Priyanshu. Today, Kojumba is not there. Now I realized. Sitaram, have I seen your answer? I have. Okay, Shubham, Eric, Urupam, correct only. So, huge round of applause as a protocol because all are correct and majority is right. A is the right answer. Zahir, Mufti, well done. Well done, Satya. All of them are valid. All are legit. Correct. Thank you, Terukula, for summarizing that. That's a very valid point made by Terukula. The Goda Varman case we have discussed thoroughly, 1996. The Forest Conservation Amendment Act 23 that has increased and that has allowed more forest land to be used for non-forest purpose. Very good. And the Coastal Regulation Zone 2018. All these are valid points, and please add two more points there. One, you can add NGT 2010-11. Then you can also add Forest Rights Act 2006. Then you can also add one more thing here, what we are talking about, CAMPA 2016, and that's a perfect summarization of all environmental acts, mainly as what we cover in India. Okay, so very well answered there. Chatbots, yes. Hira, Sahil. Okay, wonderful. Very well answered. Good, Kundan. Well answered. Quickly, can we proceed with the second article for the day? What does this article talk about? Great job, Jivit. Let's look at the second article. Okay, that's wonderful to know. Gagan, you're welcome to the class. Second article is looking at GS paper 2. Why GS paper 2? Because we are looking at global and regional bodies, organizations. For example, here we are looking at BRICS. We are looking at India's foreign policy, so international relations, GS paper 2, and global and regional bodies, GS paper 2. Previous class, we have discussed about BRICS. When was BRICS created? Who were the initial members? Today, how many members are there in BRICS? We had also done a parallel comparison between the membership of BRICS, membership of APEC, ASEAN, SCO, and that day I clearly remember Terukula and Vikash and Ramu were also giving us mnemonics to remember how many members per organization. I distinctly remember that. So without repeating on how BRICS was created, when was it created, let's focus on the agenda of this article. That's GS2. It says BRICS India Summit needs a green and resilient agenda. Okay, so now we understand that we are looking at BRICS as an expanding platform. In the last few classes, we have also seen few more things regarding BRICS. Thank you so much for clarifying, Rishi, as well as Kundan, Satya, Abhilash, Sitaram. Valid points made by everyone. Everyone remembers, and I'm happy to see that now BRICS has about 11 members. Very good. We were drawing a comparison between BRICS and ASEAN. We said that even ASEAN today has added 11 members by adding Timor-Leste, East Timor. Well done. Now, talking about BRICS. In the last 2 weeks, what all have we spoken about BRICS? One thing we discussed was that now in 2026, India is going to preside over the BRICS summit. Yes, India will preside over the BRICS summit. Second, we discussed now BRICS total, it has about 11 members. And the biggest controversy about BRICS is that President Donald Trump sees BRICS as anti-America. He thinks BRICS has only one agenda, and that is de-dollarization, whereas the Indian government has made it very clear that as India presides over BRICS, India is not pushing for active de-dollarization. India is only trying to encourage, very good Santosh, the new development bank of BRICS to now promote trade an exchange in local currencies. We will probably create another currency of the BRICS platform, but as of now, India is not going to push for active de dollarization. That's something India has clarified very clearly, because I told you that day, for a country like India, we are somewhere in between. We need to make a very strong balance between our involvement in Shanghai Cooperation Organization and BRICS, and on the other hand, in bodies like Quad, Quadrilateral Dialogue. If we only start favoring BRICS, and if we only start favoring SCO and G20, we will allow China to completely dominate these agendas, and therefore, we always maintain a balanced relation with America, with European Union, and hence we are continuing to invest in Quad also, because we know that if you talk about Indian Ocean and Indo-Pacific, we need America's support to counterbalance Chinese maritime domination. We spoke about it. Thanks, Kutan, for clarifying that. BRICS as a body created in 2009. So he has beautifully summarized about the founding members too. Who stands to lose? Well, initially, it will create a complete disruption of global trade, because dollar dominates everywhere. Even other countries, not just America, but there are many other countries, third party countries, which are using dollar as its main currency, even to measure bilateral trade. But eventually, America will be impacted, but now it's too soon to do that. Now it's not the right time to do that. That's what India feels. Okay, so coming back to the agenda of the article, what are we saying? We are saying India is now going to host the BRICS summit in 2026. Previously, you all remember in 2023, India had successfully hosted the G20 summit. It was during the G20 summit, and because of India's initiative, that African Union became an active member of the G20 summit. After all, this year, we had the G20 summit in 2025 in Johannesburg for the first time in Africa. So, for that, Africa thanks India. Yes. And where is the capital of African Union? We have seen a country called Ethiopia, Addis Ababa, which was in the news because of the Afar region volcano called Heli Gabi. So link all these things together. Yes. So India successfully hosted G20 summit. Now in 26, India is going to successfully, hopefully, host the BRICS summit. What is India's agenda? India has shown we have the capacity to become the voice of the global south, but the key objective in this summit will be to finalize a strong and applicable, relevant agenda for entire global south. Why should we focus so much on climate resilience only? Because global south countries are most vulnerable to climate change. Not only are they heavily populated, but they still lack money and technology to move towards renewable, clean, green energy. It is the global south that has kept on asking through forums like COP30, Belém, Brazil, United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. Global South has been requesting the countries of Global North, including America and EU, to provide them with carbon finance. Today, we have said by 2035, the Global South should get $1.3 trillions so that we can move towards green energy. And that is something that we have not been promised so far. So now this BRICS could be a great opportunity for India to push towards climate justice. It is also called green justice. Green justice. That's what Global South wants, and India can be the leader here. Why climate resilience matter? Because Global South is most vulnerable, most susceptible, most prone to climate change. We must focus on resilience, how to mitigate climate changes. Now, I have told you multiple times, it is impossible to cancel climate change. Today, by pressing a button, we can't say that climate change should become back to normal. It's not possible. Once the problem is there, the only thing you can do is to be resilient towards it. Have an immunity, have an elastic like capacity to bear with the impacts of climate change. That's called resilience. That's what India is focusing upon. Then adaptation. How can we adapt to the reality of climate change? And then inclusive green development. All these will align with India's priorities, making us the leader of the global south. Pritesh, very good, hurry. It was in COP30 as we pushed for climate carbon fund. We also spoke about CBDR, common but differentiated responsibility. That means All the countries have a responsibility to mitigate climate change, but every country has a different capacity to do that. We must respect that. Yes, I will, Pankaj. Okay? Very good, Tarun. We need this kind of climate justice, especially because, as Tarun just reminded us, it is because countries like America are now quitting UNFCCC, abandoning Paris Agreement, abandoning UN itself. In that case, it becomes crucial for us to demand more green justice. Why? Today, the world is experiencing a global vacuum. We have seen the policies, the MAGA policies, make America great again. Unilateral policies of President Donald Trump. You have seen how he completely abandoned global bodies like G20, Gavi. He's threatening G7 and NATO already. He abandoned World Health Organization. He was making fun of bodies like UNFCCC as well. He is not interested in being a part of these. He has questioned the logic behind UNFCCC, United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. He says, I will continue to promote fossil fuel. America will only focus on working towards more oil enriching capacity. We have withdrawn from global organizations. We continue to do that. And therefore, America never participated this time either in the G20 nor in the COP30 in Belém, Brazil. America was least interested. He said, I am not doing it. Yes, he's promoting more fossil fuel, in fact. Imagine. Imagine. America aims to become the leading and the most reliable source of oil supply in the whole world. That's why he's going and capturing oil rich countries one after the other. He's least interested in green climate financing. He's least interested in any kind of green justice at all. Today, as America is withdrawing, Europe is also experiencing security concerns. America used to provide for security to Europe. For a very long time, it was America who has provided all military and all financial help to Europe. Suddenly, today, America is withdrawing. America says, I am not giving any monetary help either to NATO or to European Union. How will European Union then promote its own shift towards renewable energy? It is feeling abandoned in between. It is experiencing climate fatigue. Despite having deep protocols, strict protocols, today Europe is also tired of changing stance of America. What is happening now? If global bodies like America, European Union are experiencing what is called as climate fatigue, they are tired and they are least interested in any climate justice. Now the space is becoming vacuum. We are getting more space for nations like Global South, led by India, to now take the leadership role. Today, BRICS can become that platform who fills up this global vacuum by creating more climate cooperation. How is India doing this balancing act? Naturally, because BRICS is seen by America as anti American, anti dollar. India therefore needs to carefully balance being the leader at BRICS also and maintaining strong trade relations with defense trade relations with America also. Just like India did previously in the case of G20 and through attending the Shanghai Cooperation Organization. We need to keep on doing this kind of balancing act. India has in the past successfully balanced agendas of Quad as well as BRICS, agenda of G20 as well as agenda of Shanghai Cooperation Organization, having free trade agreement, defense military partnerships with America and European Union, and at the same time being great friends with countries like Russia. Being the voice of the global south itself, we need to still keep on doing that. And what is the one solution to do all that? What's the very good Terukula? That deserves a clap here. Very good. This is the solution to do all that. What Terukula said. NAM 2.0. And how do you redefine NAM 2.0? It is called from non-alignment to multi-alignment. Very good. From non-alignment to multi-alignment. That's the only solution to do all that. Brilliant, absolutely. Yes. Now, if you look at climate change as a shared concern among BRICS countries, the United Nations Convention on Climate Change, UNFCCC, UNFCCC today is a body which has always given support and help to developing countries. Very good, Priyanshu. Today we can create a larger BRICS coalition to add more weight to counter the impact of climate injustice. Because climate change will impact not only all the countries of the BRICS, it will terribly impact the nations of Global South. If you look at the Global South countries, you will see India has its own problematic areas like Himalaya. We just saw Trans Himalaya, MCT, the MCT zone in Himalaya, dangerous zone, seismically active zone, tectonically unsafe zone. Look at Brazil. Why was the COP30 summit conducted in Belum? Because Belum is the place where you have the Amazon forest area. Himalaya in India, Amazon in Brazil. The permafrost areas in so many countries. Most of the BRICS countries, coastal countries, they are very prone to climate disaster like coastal submergence, landslide, fracturing of tectonic belts, land erosion, flash flooding. They are very sensitive, and therefore collective action becomes very important today, because countries like America and Europe will not lose much. It is the Global South that has much to lose, and therefore today the main concern behind BRICS should be climate governance. BRICS countries like Brazil, Egypt, UAE, they have recently led summits like COP summits, Convention of or Conference of Parties. All of these countries have been leaders of the COP summits in the past. They have to maintain the same momentum today by reminding countries like America that no, the 2015 Paris Agreement still holds value. America is no one to unilaterally reject Paris Agreement. I am sure everybody understands Paris Agreement. It is because of the Earth Summit, Rio Summit of 1992 that we created UNFCCC. Under UNFCCC, we have two key climate binding treaties. One is the Kyoto Protocol of Japan 1997 that was binding on developed nations. Second is Paris Agreement that's binding on all the nations, where all the nations must create their NDCs, nationally determined contributions, by 2030, and all the nations must ensure that global temperature rise should not exceed to above 1.5 degree or 2 degree before the pre-industrial level comparison. So America has rejected Paris Agreement, but now BRICS can be the platform to once again reinforce the value of Paris Agreement, to reinforce collective response to countries like European Union countries who impose CBAM, the Carbon Border Adjustment Mechanism. Global South countries can stand together and convince Europe that it is not easy for us to suddenly reduce the carbon emission of our production process. We suddenly cannot say that we will create all the manufacturing of goods with zero carbon emission. That's not possible. It will take time for us to improve our technology. So countries like EU, if they want to continue with FTAs with global South nations, will have to be softer when it comes to CBAM. Yes, Carbon Border Adjustment Mechanism, so that manufacturers of global countries, global South countries, do not face too much challenge. Therefore, climate finance is equally crucial. So, therefore, there was a very important summit known as the BRICS Climate Finance Framework Summit. It was held in Rio de Janeiro, South America. In July 25, it was a major outcome where Global South now strongly demands support from IMF, International Monetary Fund, World Bank, Bretton Woods Organization. They are really forcing countries like America to stop retreating from their commitment to provide carbon fund, some kind of green finance fund. You have to pay that. So why is BRICS becoming so important today? Let's understand the importance of BRICS quickly, because we know since 2009 to today, BRICS has only expanded. Today we are saying BRICS has 11 members. Recently, we have seen countries like Egypt, Ethiopia, Indonesia, UAE who were added to the BRICS. BRICS represents today 50% of the global population. I've written it here. 50% of the global population, 40% of the global GDP. At the same time, 26% of all global trade. Yes, very good, Satya. Then 26% of entire global trade. All that is represented by BRICS. So as India is getting to do the presidency of BRICS, India has a great opportunity to emerge as a leader of Global South by driving global cooperation on climate resilience, inclusive green growth, and once again forcing the developed countries to provide some kind of financial support to change towards renewable energy, to give us at least some money to ensure green justice. You see, Why do we call it green justice always? A very valid question can come in the mind of any student. Why are we saying green justice here? And who are we as global south to force the global north to give us finance to mitigate climate risk? Why are we asking money? It is justice because in the previous decades, the majority of greenhouse gas emission and majority of carbon emission has always been done by the most developed and the most industrialized countries. But now look at the paradox here, bacha. Look, majority carbon emission is done by highly developed countries, okay, because they are more industrialized. But when it comes to facing the risk of climate change, then the victim is always global south. Although they have not contributed too much to carbon emission or greenhouse gas emission or ozone depletion or global warming, but they face the worst impact of that. It is always like that. Why? Because they first do not have the money to change towards renewable energy, to mitigate a better disaster response. At the same time, they are highly populated. Yes, absolutely. Plus, they have been victims of resource exploitation. Plus, their population is still in the process of achieving awareness. They don't have the right technology to suddenly reduce their carbon emission. Plus, they have a lesser voice also. Yes, they are poorly represented in global communities, global forums that are dominated by the global north. So you see, it is like one person is doing the crime and the other person is paying the price. So today, if Global South is saying, give me $1.3 trillion as a part of carbon finance fund, what is wrong in that? You are not asking charity. You are asking a money that developed countries must pay as a part of their devastation of climate, as a part of injustice that they have done to the poor countries. At the same time, suddenly America walking out of Paris Agreement and rejecting UNFCCC is like you do the crime also and then you refuse to pay a compensation also. So that is not acceptable. This is a very, very hegemonistic action on America, and that's why Global South is being now very vocal about it. Okay, so well said. Yes, the victims are always marginalized and vulnerable. Always, always. So quickly, the question is called green justice, therefore. Very good. Consider, yes, $1.3 trillion is the demand now, Kundan. Yes. Now consider the following statements regarding BRICS and climate action. 1. The BRICS Climate Finance Framework Declaration was adopted for the first time in 2023 G20 summit hosted by India. Second, BRICS countries face diverse but common climate risk like threat to glacier, coastal regions, ecosystem, infrastructure and livelihood. 3. Engagement of institutions like World Bank and International Monetary Fund, both are known as Bretton Woods institutions, is considered important for any meaningful global push on climate finance. So which of these are valid? Lots of confusion. D, B, lots of confusion going on. Lots of confusion going on. D, B, so many different responses are coming. Why like that? Why like that? Why so much confusion? Is this a tough question? Tough question, is it? Okay, that's good to know, Ahmed. You're welcome. Is it? All are correct. Really? The first one is also correct. Is that the case? First one is also correct. Okay, okay. Interesting. Interesting. Let's break it down then. Okay, fine. Accepted. Point taken. Let's clarify. Third statement. I clearly said that today all these countries of the global south are saying that BRICS should engage with World Bank and IMF because we need them, as America is now not committing any monetary help. So therefore, we can't depend on America, neither can we completely depend on new platforms like New Development Bank. Because America's private finance is now receding from all these bodies, so we must involve IMF and World Bank. Third is correct. If third is correct, then A and B cannot be the answer. Now, second one. BRICS countries are having various kinds of climate problems, but there is a common thing between them. Most of these countries are facing glacier melting, coastal threat, ecosystem, infrastructure, livelihood. Yes, that is also correct. If second is correct, then C or D, anything can be the answer. Now let's look at the first one. First one is saying BRICS Climate Finance Framework Declaration was adopted for the first time when India was the leader of G20 summit in Delhi in 2023. I think when I was discussing this article, I can show you also if I have written it here. I have written it here. It's right here on the PDF. I clearly said that Bacha, the BRICS climate finance framework was a major outcome in July 2025 in a meeting that was held in Rio. I said South America, Rio de Janeiro. It shows how global South now demands green justice led by India. So, where was it taken? It was an outcome of what? It was an outcome of July 2025 Rio summit. Rio is where? Rio is in India? I really didn't know that. I want to go to Rio today only then. How far it must be from Bangalore? 2.5 hours? I am going to Rio now. Rio is in Delhi, right? I'll go today. Is it in Delhi? It's a new piece of knowledge. Really? It's not in Delhi. It's in Brazil, right? South America, right? Latin America, right? So, how can it be then a decision that was taken by India as India led the G20 summit? It's wrong. So, what should be the right answer here? C should be the right answer. If you've understood, then brilliant. No problem. It's good. It's good we should give wrong answers because you will forget. I'll tell you one thing with experience. For all the questions that you are answering correctly, you will not remember. For every wrong question that you attempt, you will remember always. So now nobody will forget. So well understood there. Kundan, Rishabh, yes. Abhilash, Saurav, no problem. Terukula. Well understood, well done. So well done, Eric, Tarun, Madhav, Akshay, really well tried. No problem at all. No problem at all. So Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. I think last month Vikash was mentioning, no, about Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. Many important summits have happened there, okay? Earth summits or conferences that are very important to global climate discourse. Yes? So it's in Brazil. Yes, very good. So now we shall remember. Okay. I'm a Picasso of that. So one more feather to my cap. Thank you. All right, let's quickly proceed with the third article for now. Quickly, let's go ahead. And this article is talking about what? Now you will enjoy. Now you will enjoy because I'm dealing with your favorite President Trump, your favorite celebrity. So we are looking at GS paper 2, international relations once again. What is going on? The article says a piece of board. A piece of board. But it's not something like a piece of board. It is actually about the Gaza Peace Board. Very beautiful title. So, what are we looking at? We are looking at how India is negotiating when it comes to the question of whether we should join the Gaza Peace Board or whether we should stay away from that. This is the second attempt made by President Trump. Earlier, he had created the 20-point peace program between Israel and Palestine. Here, we also saw in terms of the world involvement, we had the Sharm el-Sheikh summit in Egypt. Okay, Sharm el-Sheikh summit in Egypt, which also spoke about creating peace between Israel and Palestine. This is the second attempt he is making by creating an international board. Now, there is one thing I'm going to tell you today. Something I'm going to tell you today, which will shock you beyond words. If you think that anything done by President Trump has shocked you so far, today I will say something that's going to shock you even more. Okay, so let me tell you what is that. What has happened? Let's look at the background first. Very good. So India has skipped. India was not there. India was not there. India was absent. As President Trump is today announcing the Board of Peace, BOP, where? In the Davos summit that's going on in Switzerland. Yesterday we saw Switzerland. I made a mistake also. I said with the capital as Geneva, and one student of mine, Kritik or Kundan, no, code name Chip said that no, it's Bern. And I said, yes, thank you so much, my bad. Capital, Bern. Geneva, headquarters of so many global organizations. Yesterday we saw the map of Davos, situated in eastern Switzerland. Switzerland itself sitting on the top of Italy. We saw that yesterday, yes. We also discussed Gland in Switzerland, the headquarters of IUCN. Yes? Very good. So now a summit is going on there. This is a summit of World Economic Forum, annual summit called the Davos Summit. During this summit, President Trump has now announced the Gaza Board of Peace, and it is a part of the second phase of Gaza peace proposal. The first one I told you, 20-point peace program, now is the Gaza Board. It is about creating a peace, a negotiation between the ongoing war between Israel and Palestine. It is happening because the two-state solution has never been implemented. Today, President Trump says, I will ensure that two-state solution is implemented, and this will be supported by United Nations Security Council. Now, first point to be noted as a UPSC student is that shock is that President Trump, as he's creating this peace board, is saying that this peace board will be supported by United Nations Security Council. Look how a body like UNSC is like a pocket tool in the hands of American president. He has created the board of peace and he says this will be supported by UNSC. Point number one to be noted. That means UNSC is a tool in the hands of America. That's one thing clear. Okay. Second point to be noted. He's the same man who has said, I don't recognize United Nations. I will quit United Nations, but he is holding on to UNSC. Why? Because in UNSC, he has the veto power. And therefore, he uses this veto often to confront enemy countries like Russia and China. Second point to be noted. Now, third. What will India do? Beautifully said by Eric. Yesterday we did an article. India is still mulling over whether to join this board. What is mulling? Thinking, contemplating. Ramu gave us synonyms also. Yes. So now what is happening? India is still thinking whether we should join the board of peace or not, because India has got the invitation. Recently, India was invited to both the board of peace also and the Pax Silica also. For the board of peace, India is thinking. Why are we thinking so much? Because in past, India has always provided humanitarian support to the people of Palestine. India has never supported genocide in Palestine despite being a great friend of Israel. Today, India is in confusion, dilemma, because nations like UAE, Saudi Arabia, Turkey, Israel itself has already joined this board of peace. If India says, I am not joining, no, it will further create a problem in a very sensitive relation between India and America, who are already having a problem because of trade negotiations. India is scared whether we are going to make America angry again. And therefore, Indian Prime Minister and Indian leaders are still thinking about it. Now, why does India think it is a risk to join this board? What are we scared about? We are scared because clearly the question of Palestine has not been mentioned in this board. Although various countries are coming and joining it, but Palestinian leadership has not come. Only technical experts from Palestine are here, leaders are not here. What's the guarantee? It will create a peace that is acceptable to Palestine. Second, as far as whatever we know about the leaked information from the Board of Peace Charter, it does not even mention Gaza. There is no guarantee of any peace in Gaza. The scope has expanded to other areas, but for Gaza, no. No solution so far. Then, President Trump has appointed himself as the chairman. And who is being represented in the executive board of this body? His friends, his relatives, his loyal people. It's a complete act of nepotism. There is no democracy here. Then comes the question of bias. Israeli leadership is a part of this board. Palestinian leadership is not. Is it not about creating an ideological bias against the people of Palestine? But there are other concerns that India has. These are more India-specific concerns. Now you will be shocked. Now comes the real shock. What you will be really shocked to know from President Trump. So listen carefully. India is worried about two things. One, Pakistan has joined the Board of Peace. Today, if we approve the Board of Peace, what if tomorrow President Trump does something on Kashmir issue? What will happen? What will happen? Just like Saudi Arabia last week had told President Trump, if you want to attack Iran, go ahead, but don't use my area. I am not supporting, because he knew today he is attacking Iran, tomorrow he may attack me. Similarly, India is also thinking, if I join the Board of Peace against Palestine, tomorrow what if President Trump, to get the Nobel Prize 2026, what if he creates a Board of Peace on Kashmir issue? What will India do? One fear, because Pakistan has already joined. Second fear, President Trump has now become highly commercial, hyper commercial. Now you will be shocked to know. President Trump is saying, in this board of peace, two kinds of members will be there. Those who are paying $1 billion fee are the permanent members here. And those who are joining for free are the non permanent member here. Did you see that? How do you react to this? How will you react to this? That this board of peace has two kind of members. As per President Trump, if you are joining by paying $1 billion, you are a permanent member. And if you are joining for free, like Pakistan, then you are a non permanent member. You will not get any upper hand, you will not get any final call on this board. So it's a two-way membership. This is a big problem. It is almost like you are legitimizing that pay and rule the world. If you want to rule the world, pay. You are further playing upon economic gaps between countries. It erodes the equality of various countries, a basic principle of United Nations Charter. It erodes multilateralism. It means if you have money, you have legitimacy. If you don't have, you have no right to say anything. The richer states can buy influence. They can decide the outcome of conflicts the poor states cannot. Sidelining the poor countries of the third of the global south. Why should we join? It is undermining morality. It's also a question of ethics here. A peace board is now become a highly commercialized body by signing a registration fee. Registration fee of $1 billion? That is what you get. If you want to become a permanent member, you have to pay that. It is completely opposite to United Nations. In United Nations, authority comes from treaties, collective majority agreements. But in the Board of Peace, it is coming from transactions and commercialization. What can be the possible outcome of that? Tomorrow, if the countries who are paying money are told that also start sending your troops to Gaza, will India like that? Earlier also, India has said, sorry, President Trump, I am not sending my military to Gaza or West Bank. I won't do that. Today, if India joins the Board of Peace, tomorrow, President Trump might say, send me your military and I want your military to be stationed in Gaza. Let's create an international stabilization force. Is that valid? This will create the risk of tokenism. Members are like rubber stamps. Pay and get your will done. Do not pay and you are poor and you have no value. Sorry. So, what can India do now? India should not rush into any solution based on the concept called FOMO. Now, FOMO is a very Generation Z word. Fear of missing out. It's a very social media word, but this article has used that word. India should not experience FOMO. No, not the fear of missing out, that everybody is joining, so should I. Not like that. Not like that. It's a highly illegitimate body. It's a highly commercialized body. We must consult our partners before we think of joining this. We must also speak to the Palestinian authorities, how they perceive this. We must interact with countries like Israel. On what basis have they joined? Is it only to appease America? Or do they really think a solution can come here? To uphold the principle of multilateralism, equality, and justice over financial strength, India must think. Article is using a word called eschew. Eschew, India should mull over it. India should still think whether to join, whether to not join based on our priorities. We cannot have this fear that, okay, President Trump is angry, let's pay $1 trillion and join the Board of Peace. You know his mood swings are next level. Tomorrow he may say, no, guys, I have got the money. I am tired now. Cancel the Board of Peace. Then what happens to all the countries? If he can abandon UN, if he can abandon WTO, Gavi, G20, then tomorrow he might abandon this board also. So then what will you do? Then who will return your $1 trillion investment? Nobody, okay? So these are some funny questions. It's a very funny article also. When I was reading this article, I couldn't control laughing over it. I mean, the fact that you pay $1 billion and join as a registration fee was like, I really had tears. I laughed so much in the morning. It's just another level of world politics. Never seen that before. Okay, so consider the following statements regarding US-led Board of Peace and India's position. 1. The Board of Peace is a part of Phase 2 of America's proposal aimed at solving Israel-Palestine conflict through a two-state solution. Second, India skipped the announcement of Board of Peace due to concerns over its altered mandate, governance structure, possible sidelining of UN, and 3, the proposed structure of the Board of Peace has raised a concern for India as Pakistan's membership because of Pakistan's joining and the possibility of non-UN conflict resolution mechanisms. So which of these statements are correct? Yes? Yes? Joy of missing out. Okay, my students are like, they are wonders when it comes to creating these funny abbreviations and creating these small snippets of sarcasm. Really, it's awesome, all of you. So Ramu says, rather than FOMO, let's think of JOMO. JOMO, we are thinking of the joy of missing out. Okay, is that what India is doing? Maybe, maybe. Okay, very good. So now, which of these are valid? Third is valid. Absolutely, third statement is correct. Second is correct. Correct. First is correct. Correct only, no? So all these should be correct. Then D should be the right answer. D should be the right answer. Right Kundan, right Akhtar, right Santosh, Aktopam, Abhishek, Saurav, Priyanshu, Ramu, Sumit, Tarun, Vikash. Correct. Okay. Anybody has a doubt? Some students were saying C. Why? What happened? First is not correct. Is it not a part of second phase of America's idea to create Israel-Palestine solution? It is. It is. No, India skipped the introduction meeting at Davos already. India has skipped already. India has not said. Now, there is a difference here. Very good question, AB. So, what I'm saying is that second statement doesn't mean that India has already said no. No. India hasn't refused yet. India is still thinking about it, mulling over it. Second statement means in Davos yesterday, as President Trump was announcing the introduction to Board of Peace. During the introduction session, many countries are already a part of that. India has not yet been a part of that. So India skipped the introduction announcement section. We haven't joined as such yet. Okay? Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. That is true. That is true. Veto power is absolutely creating a majority rule when you talk about UNSC. How do countries like China and the US maintain their legitimacy there? If America passes a resolution against Russia, China will veto. If China will pass a resolution, say against any enemy country like Israel, America will veto. It's like a veto football. One veto, another veto. And the rule of UNSC is that if even one permanent member out of P5 will veto, the bill will not be passed. So therefore, that's how, can you look at the double standards? He has left everything. UN also, but he's not ready to leave UNSC. Why? Veto is a power. Why will he leave veto? It's the only legitimate way he has to control the world. Okay? Really? That's wonderful. That's very good to know, Kundan. Thanks for sharing. It's not clear about the two-state solution? Okay. So let me clarify to you, Tarun. What are we saying, Bacha, is that President Trump, you all understand, is the man who is trying to create peace wherever there is a situation of conflict. I've told you in the past, whether it was about Thailand, Cambodia, Azerbaijan, Armenia, Russia, Ukraine, Operation Sindoor versus Pahalgam attack, Israel, Palestine. Everywhere he's the one who says, I will create peace. Yes. Now, in this case also, he has tried 2 times. Earlier, he has tried creating the 20-point peace program. This is the second time he's trying by creating a formal board of peace. And unfortunately, in this board of peace, he's not even mentioning places like Gaza or places like West Bank. Palestinian authorities are also not there. So it's a second time he wants that under my supervision, through a board of peace, a proper body created like a new body, we shall implement the two-state solution from 1960s, where one country will be Israel, second country will be for Palestinian people. The problem India is having is that there is no clarity exactly how the division is going to happen. Okay. So also because America is a key ally of Israel, we are not sure America will act in a transparent manner. The second attempt at creating 2 separate countries. Is it clear now, Tarun? Absolutely, it's imperialistic. Absolutely correct. Otherwise, what happens? We have to take a lot of trade agreements. Correct. Correct, Ram. Very well said. Today, if we surrender to the Board of Peace, tomorrow we may have to accept so many other conditions coming from America. Tomorrow he may say, fine, stop importing Russian oil, otherwise take 500% tariff. What will we do? What can we do? So sometimes you have to put your leg as a strong state. It doesn't recognize yet because there is no existence only. How will he recognize? Tarun, there is no existence of a separate state right now. So all these people are living in occupied regions, West Bank, Gaza. I showed you the map in one of my lectures. All these are occupied regions. There is lack of clarity, which is the Jewish occupied area, which is the Palestinian occupied area. That's why attack and missiles are going on. Majority of this area is becoming like a refugee hub. No permanent housing, temporary tents, UN support systems are running here. That's why we are saying create a two-state solution. Have two countries so that no active conflict is now there. You can create a specified area. This is yours. Okay? Right? That's the agenda. Now, quickly, the next article, please. What are we looking at? GS Paper 3, Environment, Ecology, Tribal Rights. Please focus. What are we looking at? The Great Nicobar Island Dispute. Very good, Terukula. Thanks for summarizing. You can also consult the map once again. No problem. I hope it's clear now, Tarun. I'll be happy if it's clear. If not, I can still try and explain again. Quickly, the next article. Officials are coercing us to surrender our land. That's what the tribals are saying. What are we looking at, Bache? We are looking at the Great Nicobar project. So please focus. GS Paper 3 and GS Paper 2 and GS Paper 1. GS Paper 1, it's a social issue. Inequality. GS Paper 2, vulnerable communities, tribal rights, displacement. GS Paper 3, protecting environment. All three papers are here. Yes, very good. FRA comes in the picture, 2006. Absolutely. What is going on? Let's immediately summarize. We are creating a 92,000 crore rupee project in the Great Nicobar Island. It's a mega infrastructure. Now the time has come, it is almost ready to get approval. It will now be approved by the government finally. Tribal representatives of this area, I told you this area is overlapping with a region that is known as Galicia Bay. Many other sensitive regions like Pemaya Bay, Nanjappa Bay. All these are very, very eco-sensitive regions full of biodiversity. The Great Nicobar project is promising a port, transshipment link, township, industrial corridor, airport. All these will happen. They will all be created here. This is also an area that is inhabited not just by endangered variety of animals and plants, but also by tribals, PVTGs, very good Ramu, particularly vulnerable tribal groups such as Nicobari and Champinese. What is happening today? Tribal leaders are complaining, very good. PVTG talks about Dhibar Commission, which identified them for the first time in 1961. Highest number of PVTGs are located in Odisha. Very, very good. Now coming back. This 92,000 crore Great Nicobar project is now about to get approval, but tribal representatives are blaming. Tribal representatives are saying that we are being pressurized, forced, coerced by the district authorities to surrender, give up our ancestral lands, our inherited pieces of land. Who is the most impacted here? The Tribal Council of Nicobar, who represents the Nicobari community. It is a scheduled tribe. It is a scheduled tribe. Where is the land diversification being planned? Now, in this area of Great Nicobar, that is a very eco-sensitive region, we are planning to divert, to cut forest land and give it for non-forest use in areas like Galicia Bay, Pemaya Bay, and Nanjappa Bay. All are located on the Great Nicobar Island, and these are the areas where the Nicobari tribals have been living since when? Since the 2004 big tsunami happened in the Indian Ocean, all these tribals are living here. Yes. Now, what are these tribal council people complaining? They are saying on 7th of January, these tribal members were told to orally, not even in writing, to orally sign a surrender certificate where we are giving up all our ancestral lands to you. Now they can be used for non-forest purpose, diversification of land. A complete violation of provision given under FRA, Forest Right Act 2006. These people will be displaced now. Their land will be taken up for infrastructure, and they have been told to sign a surrender certificate orally. to approve for it. Later, they were also told that whether they want to give this land in exchange of relocation, we can relocate you to another coastal area. But no clear details were given about how and when and where will they be relocated. So therefore, these tribal people are saying we are being forced today. Our rights are being violated under FRA. Forest dwelling communities have a right to inhabit in the areas of forest because they depend on it for livelihood. Plus, you cannot diversify forest land into non-forest usage. Today, that is only happening in Great Nicobar project. Tribals are concerned, very concerned, because tribals have a unique cultural identity based on ancestral land. Yes. Second thing, their future generations, their livelihood is all dependent on these islands. 21 years after the big tsunami, so many families were displaced. Slowly, slowly, they have been able to settle in this island. Today, suddenly, they are being told to relocate and go to another area. Already, they are victims of displacement. In 2004 tsunami, they were already displaced. They had to find new areas. Now they have made their house there. Again, they will be displaced because of the Great Nicobar Island. So the problem is that now meetings are being held, consultations are being done in the area called Campbell Bay, and discussions but are being seen as unclear, insufficient to solve the problems of these tribes. There are officials and representatives of Andaman Adim Janjati Vikas Samiti, Tribal Development Council. They are saying that these discussions are not enough and government officers are not even responding to our questions that where are you planning to relocate us? No such clarity on that. And now, what is therefore going on? This case is once again a typical kind of case which has shown that whenever we are moving towards infrastructural development, now if you ask the Indian government, why do you want to create this massive infrastructure? They will say, because it is strategically important to us. One thing is, India is now trying to become a maritime strength. We need to develop commercial ports which can compete with international ports like the Changi port, Singapore, or say the Hambantota port, Sri Lanka. So we want to create a port too to attract more commercial ship traffic. Plus, this area will also enable us to conduct better patrolling in the Strait of Malacca, the thin choke point between Indonesia and Malaysia, from where so much trade passes and then reaches countries like China. It is unsafe because China is dominating this area. So for India, it's a matter of strategic security, we know. At the same time, it is also raising a question of informed consent. Have you taken informed consent from the tribals, or are you deluding them and forcing them to relocate? That is the social problem associated with this issue. Then there is an environmental problem also. The government is planning to cut 13,000 hectares of forest from this area. In return, the government is saying, I will go and plant compensatory trees in an area called Haryana under India's Campa Act 2016, Compensatory Afforestation Fund Act. I will cut trees from here and plant additional trees in a place called Haryana. Will that solve the purpose? It will not. Because the trees that grow in Andaman can never grow in Haryana. These are two different ecosystems, two different vegetation types. At the same time, when you remove 13,000 hectare of tree, we are removing 15% of the total forest cover from the area of Greater Nicobar Island. As Vikash said beautifully, it impacts the marine life here as well. For example, the olive ridley turtle, which are also very famous from Odisha. Yes, they are getting impacted. Then the very famous one, as you mentioned, the sea cow, dugong. We are maintaining a reserve also for that, but we are also creating a big threat for these. Yes, so by just saying that I will provide compensatory forestation, you can't make up for the biodiversity loss here. So that's why this has become a very questionable kind of development, that in the process of creating a strategic infrastructure, which is okay, but you are paying a heavy price in terms of tribal rights as well as ecology. That's what this article has to say, and Kundan, very good. Ultimately, we can cover this under Article 21. Absolutely, we should, because right to life is also a right that is valid and it's applicable to tribals. They are Indian citizens. At the same time, having access to a clean and a green environment is also the same as right to life. So definitely it's a question of Article 21. Correct. Plus, it is also a matter of fundamental duty. Article 15(1)(g). We must do everything as Indian citizens to protect our climate, ecology. Very good, Terukula. Valid point. endangered. So, question, look at these statements regarding the Great Nicobar Island mega infrastructure. One, the Nicobari community is represented by tribal councils recognized as scheduled tribe. Second, tribal council has formally agreed to sign a surrender certificate giving up all ancestral lands for project. And three, parts of project require diversification of forest land in areas where Nicobari people live. They have been living from 2004 tsunami onwards, and which of these are valid? Very good. This time majority is correct. So a big round of applause to everyone. Yes, everyone is right here. Terukula, Sitaram, Priyanshu, Santosh, Sam, AB, Madhav, Akhtar. So many code names. Correct. B is the right answer. No doubts about that. Now we are almost ending the lengthy articles. A quick, short 5 minutes coverage of shorter articles now. Very good, Aktopa. Very good, AB, Eric. Wonderfully done. Wonderfully done. That itself is a wrong word. Very good. Now, next article quickly is again GS paper 2, international relations. What are we looking at? We are looking at Greenland again. So let me quickly go back to the map on Greenland first. What is happening here in Greenland with its capital as Nuuk? Look at the strategic location. Here you have Canada, US. Right side you have countries of the NATO, including Denmark, which owns Greenland. Denmark, which presently controls Greenland, and Denmark is a key founding member of NATO itself. So, what's the controversy? What's the controversy? President Trump has finally said that I'm ready to withdraw. I'm ready to step back on my tariff that I had imposed on 8 selected countries of Europe, including Denmark. The tariffs were announced to pressurize them to surrender Greenland to America. America says Greenland is located in the Arctic. It provides us access to rich reserves of oil, fish, and natural gas. Plus, America says Greenland is very critical for my security, missile defense, and my great military bases. If I don't capture it, China or Russia will come and capture it. So I need it at any cost. Why does Greenland matter to President Trump so much? Because Greenland is located in the Arctic, of course. It's a great area from where you can sit and keep on having an observation on missiles, space programs of China and Russia. Greenland is important for missile defense security as well. But President Trump needs it at any cost. Thule base of America is already existing in northwest Greenland. Today it has been renamed as Pitufik Air Base. Very good. Well, valid point. Now what is happening? Yes, he comes again. What is the problem? Okay. Problem is that America threatened tariff on Europe. 8 countries were given a tariff threat. He said, from February 1st, I will impose 10% tariff on you. If you still don't give me Greenland, from June 1, I will increase this tariff to 25%. But now finally that tariff is cancelled. Why has it been cancelled? Because President Trump is saying, finally, I have had a very good discussion. I had a very relaxed discussion with a man named as General Mark Rutte. A man named as General Mark Rutte. I've had a very good discussion with him, and he is NATO Secretary General. We had this meeting where we are having the World Economic Forum Summit in Davos, Switzerland. So he says, I have met the Secretary General of NATO. We've had a very good and productive discussion. I'm happy with the discussion. And now I'm ready to roll back these tariffs. According to President Trump, US and NATO have already agreed on a framework which deals with a future decision on Greenland ownership and the wider Arctic area. Therefore, he's ready to now cancel these tariffs. How about the security angle involved here? President Trump already says that if I get Greenland, I will make a golden dome here. A golden dome here. That is a multi-layered missile air defense system. And therefore, I will use it as a key military defense base of America. Then, nobody in America will ever feel unsafe. I want to protect my country. And he's saying, don't worry, I am not going to use any force on you. I'm not going to do on you what I did on Venezuela. Rest assured, I'm not using any force. Why am I not using any force? Because you decided to talk to me as NATO Secretary General at the Davos Summit. So I'm happy now. And if I get Greenland, I will create a golden dome here. Multi-layered missile air defense system. What is Europe's response? What is Europe saying? Europe is in shock actually. What will Europe say? It's in shock. Back to back, if you give somebody shocks, what happens? One day you get electrified. Europe is electrified right now. First, he says cancel NATO itself. Then he tells Ukraine go surrender to Russia itself. Then he says European Union is rotting. Then he says 8 countries will be given 10% extra tariff. If you don't give me Greenland, 25% extra tariff. I am not supporting any military or any kind of defense financing for Europe. Take care of your own security, guys. Get lost. What will Europe do? Europe is already in a state of shock. What did they do? Poor European countries have now started sending small troops and regiments to Greenland. They are trying their best to secure themselves against Trump's tariff threat and acquisition threat. Europe has been very uncomfortable. Countries have been having meetings repeatedly. They are very worried. European Parliament has also cancelled European Union America Trade Agreement 2025. They have cancelled. They were threatening of a retaliatory tariff, trade bazooka. They are very worried. Now, European leaders are saying this is a lie being propagated by President Trump, that if he does not take Greenland, China, Russia will. China, Russia will not do that. They are not coming all the way to take Greenland. It's a fake excuse, a fake alibi given by President Trump to capture Greenland. So they don't agree. Now, what's the future, therefore? Future is very uncertain. President Trump has named his Vice President J.D. Vance, Secretary of State Marco Rubio, and a special envoy, Mr. Steve Witkoff, as the leaders who will handle future discussions on Greenland. How do we understand this situation? We are saying America is still asserting its control not just in Greenland, in Arctic also. Today he is saying, I am not going to use force, but sorry. That is a claim that nobody is going to believe. He may use force if need arises. Okay. So that's the reality of the situation right now. Now, the next one is also interesting. The next one says that India and European Union are now almost ready to not only finalize their free trade agreement, but also they are signing another agreement, and this will be India-EU Security and Defense Partnership. Now, we all know we are few days away from the Republic Day. And I also announced our 77% Republic Day sale, right? So because Republic Day is coming. So this year for 2026, for the Republic Day celebration, India is inviting 2 chief guests. Who are these people? So the chief guests are going to be Ursula von der Leyen and Antonio Costa. Both these are coming from European Union to take a part in India's Republic Day ceremony as chief guest. This is a great opportunity. And therefore, India and European Union will sign another security and defense partnership that will cover maritime security, cyber security, and counter-terrorism. So tomorrow, if you get confused, what is this new pact? Don't worry. India and EU are signing a new defense and security pact with only 3 agendas: maritime security, cyber security, counter-terrorism. That's all. Nothing else. Where will the pact be signed? Of course, in Delhi, because they are coming from Republic Day celebrations, and they will together also celebrate 16th India EU summit together with Indian Prime Minister Mr. Modi as the leader and the main, you can say, in charge of the entire negotiation. Now, how will this visit help us? This visit will also reinforce and quicken, improve the pace of India-EU FTA, which is still under negotiation. Let's remember, EU is one of India's largest trading partners, and therefore the relation is indispensable. It's a very important relationship. India-EU will also adopt a new agenda, comprehensive strategic agenda. I repeat, comprehensive strategic agenda with 2030 as the deadline. They have to achieve certain geopolitical claims. They have to achieve all their agendas. They will also include an agreement on security of information agreement. In today's dangerous world, which is characterized by wars, monopoly, unilateral actions by America, both these countries are pushing for a peaceful, transparent international order. Plus, they are also talking about people-to-people mobility. India's highly skilled professionals, professors, engineers, doctors are highly invited to European Union to start businesses, to join jobs, to boost research and innovation. And ultimately, the idea is to expand the relationship. It is already very strong when it comes to trading. EU is one of our largest partners. We are already in the process of finalizing free trade agreement. There are some constraints like CBAM, carbon border adjustment mechanism, but overall it's ready. So now it will expand to security, defense, people to people migration, but the biggest will be maritime, cybersecurity, anti-counter-terrorism. So we end almost here, but there is just one article that I could not leave. I don't know. I wanted not to discuss this because yesterday we have done it in thorough detail, but it I got a feeling it is almost like a case study of what we did yesterday. I couldn't leave it. You decide whether I did the right thing or not, but I couldn't leave it. There was another article today on page number 1 which said Karnataka governor has decided to cut short his speech to the legislature and he walked out in between. So it is just like what we did yesterday when governors of Kerala and Tamil Nadu refused to do the customary speech in front of the legislative assembly. They left it. They modified the speech, they left it in between. It raised a big question where Chief Minister Mr. Stalin was complaining that remove this custom altogether. We don't need this custom from British Parliament anymore. Governors are not nowadays reading the speeches given by state cabinet. They are modifying it. They are leaving it in between. They are walking out of the assembly. They are abusing their constitutional role. Better to remove the custom rather than experiencing these issues. Very good, Ramu. A gubernatorial issue again. What is gubernatorial? Related to the role of governor. Yesterday we did this article in detail. Very good, Terukula. Today it is happening in 3 states. Kerala, Tamil Nadu, Karnataka. Today it happened. So which articles were important? Article 176. The governor has to give. Yesterday we were having argument about the word compulsory. So the governor of a state has to give a customary address to the House of Legislature before each first time session starts in a new year. So that is Article 176. And what should it be about? It should highlight the policies and principles of the ruling government in the state. So governor should not change it. It's a custom. The governor cannot interfere. His duty is to read and go. But nowadays governors are not doing that. No? So states are saying it's a federal problem. Governors are misusing their constitutional body. They are acting like agents of center. And it is exactly same as the Article 87 of the Constitution where President should read an inaugural address before Parliament at the start of every fresh parliamentary session. So that's it today from my side. Very good, Madhav, Ramu, Terukula, Santosh for summarizing that. Now as I take your leave, here's a big announcement. So Republic Day is coming. So because we are celebrating our Republic Day and celebrating so many years of India's freedom, we here announce a great opportunity for those who now are writing the 2026 prelims. If you think it's too late, there is time because you can join our SIP, Success in Prelims course. It will come at a price which is on 77% discounted, up to 77%. And if you use my code live, then more discount. But the sale is only valid till 27 January. So please spread the word, bacha. I will post in Telegram also. Similarly, if you're writing for 2027, be assured that prelims, mains, and basic interview guidance will be given. A lot of people are asking me, do you provide books? Yes, we do. Do you provide notes, PDFs, PPTs? Yes, we do. Online classrooms? Yes, we do. Offline? Yes, we do. One-on-one mentorship? Yes. Answer writing, essay writing? Yes. So use code SPLIVE. Already 77% off. You will get more discount. Sale ends on 27. For 28 also something similar. Sale is ending on 27. So please let your friends know we are announcing up to 77% off. Okay, so please spread the word around. Now let me quickly go back to the first slide. Those students who were actually willing to see the code, because I'm sitting right on top of the code. Priyanshu and Ramu were saying, ma'am, your head is coming. What should we scan, you or should we scan the code? No, you scan the code only. I will just move aside and let you scan the code properly. Okay. So let me move aside here. I think now everybody can scan the code. I think so. Now it should not be a problem. So you all can scan the code. Those who want to scan the code and join the Telegram. So thank you so much. I'll take your leave now. That's wonderful that you're joining from Ladakh. That's great to know. And I'll see you tomorrow at 9:30 a.m. Those who are interested in CSAT comprehension can join me at 1 p.m. on the main channel. So God bless you. See you tomorrow. So bye-bye, Priyanshu. That is also possible, Priyanshu. See, in technology, my mind is like, at what level it's working. Thanks for reminding. But still, I think you can scan. Okay, so bye, Priyanshu, Kundan. Hari, Terukula, Nagraj, Eric, Ramu, Vikash, Sumit, Madhav, Santosh, Sumed, Rishi, codename Chip, Anasinu, Kundan, Abhilash, Terkula, Hira, Hika, Sam, and so many code names like World Cricket. And who else? Tarun, Sitaram, of course, Sitaram, and Abhilash, Santosh, Kundan, Bulbul, Iba, Akhtar, Zahir. Thank you so much for being a part of the lecture. Kaizan, Kazu. Okay, Srishti. All right, that's wonderful. Okay, then. Bye bye. God bless you. Okay, I'll see you tomorrow then. Bye bye.